Tax, deductions and numbers. I know your brain has completely gone haywire after hearing all the discussions on the union budget, but we are here to break it down for you, to focus on the most important part of Nirmala Sitaraman's budget speech today. Taxes. Will you have more money in your pocket this year or not? That's the moot question. We are opening up our phone lines on the show tonight. You can call in and ask your question to our experts who are joining us here in the studio. Our telephone lines are flashing on your screens as well. So do take a note of it, and we'll be very happy to hear from you as well on what your assessment of the budget is. But again, as I said, we are opening up our phone lines specifically on the subject of tax and what you think of it. And if there's any confusion that you have, our experts can clear that for you. But first, let's listen in to the Finance Minister's announcement on taxes.
I propose to change the tax structure in this regime by reducing the number of slabs to 5 and increasing the tax exemption limit to 3 lakhs. The new tax rates are 0 to 3 lakh, nil. 3 to 6 lakhs, 5%. 6 to 9 lakhs, 10%. 9 to 12 lakh, 15%. 12 to 15 lakhs, 20%. And above 15 lakhs, 30%. Currently, those with income up to 5 lakh do not pay any tax, do not pay any income tax in both old and new regimes. I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakh in the new tax regime.
Okay, you've heard the minister. Now, hear the explanation. The government clearly wants people to use the new tax regime. That's very obvious, which is why they have announced major tax cuts and rebates for people who opt for it. Earlier, the new tax regime had 6 different slabs. They have been brought down to 5 now. So if your income is below 3 lakh rupees, your tax rate is 0. You pay nothing. If it's between 3 lakhs and 6 lakhs, your tax rate is 5%. If you earn between 6 to 9 lakh rupees, it is 10%. If you earn anywhere between 9 to 12 lakh rupees, it is 15%. 12 lakh to 15 lakh is 20%. And above 15 lakhs is 30%. Right now, the income tax rebate is 5 lakh rupees. Okay, what does rebate mean? It's basically a refund on the tax you have already paid. Assume your tax deducted at source or TDS is 40,000 rupees, but your actual tax liability is only 30%. You have a lot of insurance premiums and investments that qualify as deductions on your income. In such a case, you're eligible for a tax rebate. Until now, that income tax rebate limit was for 5 lakh rupees. But the Finance Minister has raised it to 7 lakh rupees. In other words, if your income is 7 lakh rupees or less, your income tax is nil. You don't have to pay any income tax. But what if you earn more than 7 lakh rupees? Let's assume your annual income is 9 lakh rupees. Under the new system, the new regime, you will be paying 45,000 rupees as tax. If you do the math, it comes to around 5%. If your income is 15 lakh rupees, then you must pay 1.5 lakhs as tax, which is around 10% of your income. If you earn more than 15 lakh rupees, you must still pay 30% as tax, both in the old regime and in the new regime. The only change is in the surcharge levied on high net worth individuals. They used to pay 37%, now they will pay 25%. The government is hoping to achieve 2 broad objectives with these tax cuts. One, of course, is to put more money in the hands of the middle class and upper middle class to make sure that these people spend more and revive overall consumption. And 2, to nudge more and more people towards the new tax regime. Now remember, the new tax regime was introduced in the last union budget. The upside of this regime is lower tax rates. The downside is fewer exemptions. The old tax regime has a lot more deductions than the new regime, which is why many people still prefer it. The Finance Minister has made the new regime the default one today, but the old one will continue as well. Of course, the government wants you to migrate, but they're not forcing you to do it. Listen in to the Finance Minister.
already addressed this, I think. We want to make the new tax regime, which is without exemptions, attractive enough for people to think that this will be the best option for them because it gives them better rates. It doesn't also make the compliance a burdensome exercise. If rates are so low, you're going to benefit net by paying lesser tax. Even those exemptions that you would have otherwise gained from would have resulted in probably net amount being the same. So we made this a lot more attractive. But if there are people who still think that being in the exemption regime, which is the old regime, benefits them, they're welcome to continue where they want. But yes, the ultimate interest is to make the simpler regime more attractive. And that is why we've come up with this.
Now, the question is, will these tax cuts and the new tax regime be enough to spur consumption? The answer is a bit complicated. For starters, only 1% of Indians actually file income tax returns. In 2020, that meant around 5.8 crore people. Out of these 5.8 crore people, only 1.4 crore people declared income tax or income above 5 lakh rupees. That could mean 6 lakhs, 15 lakhs, or even 15 crores. So the question is, how many people will the increased rebate limit actually benefit? Even the best case scenario, less than 1 crore, we would say. That's 0.7% of India's total population. And what does that tell you? A, that tax collection is still a big challenge in our country. And B, indirect taxes are still the game changer because virtually every Indian pays GST one way or the other. So if the government is focused on putting more money in the hands of people, income tax alone cannot be the answer. It must focus on indirect taxes as well. In fact, in the post-budget briefing, the finance minister was asked about this exact point, about how inflation and rising prices are the real villains in the story. What happened next is very interesting because the minister, well, she struggled a bit to frame a proper answer, a response, and then had to be bailed out by one of the bureaucrats sitting next to her. Take a look at how things played out.
से महिलाओं को काफी उम्मीदें थी, घर की महिलाओं को जो महंगाई से पीड़ित थी, रसोई गैस के सिलेंडर के दुगने दामों से पीड़ित थी, कहीं ना कहीं आटे से लेकर के रोटी तक सारी चीजें महंगी हो गई है। तो क्या इससे आपको लगता है कि कुछ इसमें महंगाई पे भी फर्क पड़ेगा और घर की जो रोटी है, जो घर की जो रसोई का जो सामान है, उसमें इस बजट से कुछ फर्क पड़ेगा?
गवर्नमेंट का निर्णय को देखे होंगे कि गेहूं के लिए मार्केट में रिलीज करने के लिए आदेश हुआ है, जिससे गेहूं के दाम कम होने के इतना क्लियर इंडिकेशन है, जिससे सीधा घर में रसोई में फर्क पड़ेगा ही पड़ेगा। सो उसको आप बोलना नहीं है, ये नहीं है कि मैं उसके ऊपर कुछ बजट में नहीं बोले, मगर बजट से बोलने से पहले एक्शन ही हो गया है ना कि घर की रसोई के लिए गेहूं आटा के लिए मार्केट में रिलीज करने के लिए निर्णय सरकार ऑलरेडी कर चुकी है। एक मिनट।
साथ ही साथ जो है महिला जो है वो भी एक परिवार का सदस्य है, तो जो रिलीफ जो इतना टैक्स पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स में दिया गया है वो भी परिवार के पास में और महिला के पास में आएगा, उसके हाथ में आएगा, जिससे वो अपना घर का खर्चा चला सकती है। सो वो भी एक महिला के लिए हमें नहीं देखना चाहिए कि महिला के लिए नहीं है, वो भी महिला के लिए एक बेनिफिट है।
Okay, our phone lines are open, dear viewers. Just give us another minute more because no budget is ever complete without the opposition parties trashing the finance minister. And this budget has been no different. The Congress party has accused the finance minister of ignoring the needs of the Indian middle class. In fact, they are saying that the 7 lakh rebate limit is simply not enough considering rising inflation. Listen in to Mr. P. Chidambaram, who's held a press conference.
No taxes have been reduced except for the small number who have opted for the new tax regime. No indirect taxes have been reduced. There is no cut in the cruel and irrational GST rates. There is no reduction in the prices of petrol, diesel, cement, fertilizers, etc. There is no cut in the numerous surcharges and cesses which are anyway not shared with the state governments. Who has benefited by this budget? Certainly not the poor, not the youth looking desperately for jobs, not those who have been laid off, not the bulk of the taxpayers, not the homemaker, not the thinking Indians who are shocked by the growing inequality, the rise of the number of billionaires, and the wealth being accumulated in the hands of the 1% of the population. And certainly not you. You have not benefited by this budget.
Okay, have you really not benefited by this budget? It's a question that we'll put to our guests who are joining us this evening. Kishore Subramanian is a public finance expert joining us in the studio, and he's been at it since morning. We'll get you a cup of coffee. Salil Bhatia is joining us on the broadcast as well. He's a tax expert. And gentlemen, I'm not going to ask you any questions because I'm very certain if I do, our viewers will get very irritated. They're already lining up with their questions. Shantimar, you're calling us from Kolkata. Please go ahead. Our first caller. Okay, we'll try and get across to Shantimar in just a bit. I think we kept him waiting for a bit too long. Sanjay Kumar is calling us from Gujarat. Sanjay ji, go ahead, please.
Sanjay, I'm calling from Gujarat.
Ji.
Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely, Sanjay ji, you're audible. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. My question is, if my CTC is 20 lakhs and I have a home loan, so which regime would be beneficial for me? So if I use
this is a good question because
and PS and home loan, so whether I should opt for new tax regime or old tax regime?
Okay, so who wants to take that question? It's a good question and I have that question myself. But Salil Bhatia, would you want to take that question? Should he migrate to the new one or should he stick to the old one?
I will answer this question. The difference between the old regime and the new regime is the amount of rupees 3,75,000 worth of deductions. So if anybody has deductions under Chapter 6A, that covers all the deductions under Section 80. If they are more than 3,75,000, the taxpayer should continue with the old tax regime. If the deductions are less than 3,75,000, they should shift to the new regime. So the home loan is not a part of that deduction. That is irrespective whether in the old regime or the new regime, you will get that deduction, the interest deduction.
Okay, so should he or should he not? He asked for a simple question. He asked a simple question. Should he or should he not?
I don't think he will have deductions up to 3,75,000, so he should shift to the new regime.
Okay. I hope that has answered your question there. Thank you very much. Let me go across to our next caller. We have Wing Commander GK Sarkar who's calling us from Calcutta. Wing Commander, thank you very much for calling us. Go ahead with your question, please, sir. Okay, Arvind Tiwari from Vadodara. Is he on the line with us? Okay, I have a list of callers. For some reason, our systems are not being able to patch them. So just give us a moment to patch them. I'll just request our PCR and our production team to try and ensure that we can take as many callers as we can right now. But Kishore Subramanian, we had spoken in the morning and you said, bhai, populist budget nahi hona chahiye. With this new tax regime, etc., it's looking like it's a bit populist.
No, okay. So I have a very, very different answer. today morning I did tell you that it shouldn't be a populist budget. See, economics, cost of economics, which is called as fiscal prudence, and being populist are two different things. But this government strangely has been able to manage both. Not make it populist, at the same time make it fiscally prudent, which means for the lower income guys and the salaried people, they have been able to give something in their hand, which has helped them in saving more money. This will increase the consumption. At the same time, they have not made it populist. What is populist, according to me, is waiver of loans, like the way Congress did once upon a time, like giving free farm loan waiver and stuff.
Here also we are giving free food, no?
No, free food was required. So you have to understand.
For how long?
No, absolutely. The COVID impact is long. See, MSME, which are organizations and not even individual households, are having an impact for more than 2 years. So imagine that free food is a security system which is required. It is not dole.
Okay.
It is not waive of the loan that you have already taken.
Okay. KG Prasad is calling us from Secunderabad. I think we can go across to him. Mr. Prasad, please go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, let me congratulate the Finance Minister for a very good budget. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Prasad, what you would want to do is reduce the volume of your television set. Give me a minute. Mr. Prasad, why don't you reduce the volume of your television set? That way we'll be able to communicate better. Yeah. Now go ahead with your questions, sir.
I have reduced. And now, let me first of all congratulate the Finance Minister for a very good budget, I think. Okay. And secondly, I fail to understand why are there two slabs? Why is the difference in the slabs between income slab and the tax slab? Could you get my question?
No, actually, I didn't get your question. Did you get his question?
Yeah, probably, let me try to answer and trying to understand what he has told. He is probably asking between the rebate and the basic slab.
Correct.
See, if somebody has an income of, let's say, 9 lakhs, for example, and then they apply the exemptions and the whatever investments like insurance and everything, Section 80C and etc., and then they come down to 7, then they get an exemption. Okay. So this is what he's probably trying to understand. Basically, earlier that was at 5 lakhs. It has gone up to 7, which means the taxable income, if it is 7 lakhs, it will be 0. But if you between 3 and 6, you will anyway have a tax. To explain it even more simply, if your income is 7 lakh 1,000, then your tax starts from 3. But if it is 7 lakhs, it is 0.
Okay. Mr. Subramanian is calling us from Mumbai, I believe. Mr. Subramanian, good evening. Go ahead, please.
So I'm a senior citizen. They have said senior citizen savings have been increased from 15 lakhs to 30 lakhs. I want to understand what it is.
Salil, Bhatia, will you be in a position to do that explaining, please?
Yes. So earlier, the senior citizens were given an option where they would get a fixed rate of interest for 5 years. That the limit was 15 lakhs. Now the government has increased the limit to 30 lakhs.
And what was this rate of interest?
Yeah. So there was a 15 lakhs, like senior citizens could do an FD with the bank. Generally, people used to do with post office of 15 lakhs. So that limit has been increased to 30 lakhs.
Okay. RK Sharma is again calling us from Mumbai. Mr. Sharma, please go ahead.
Definition of middle class. If they understand what that means by a middle class.
Mr. Sharma, I'm afraid I can't hear you there. Did we just lose Mr. Sharma's line? If you can hear me, could you please repeat what you're saying? Yes, you're audible now.
I'd like to understand.
Go ahead, please.
I'd like to understand what the definition of a middle class means in this economy by the FM and by your experts. How do you define middle class?
Okay.
Because the exemption is up to.
I don't think we have a standard definition.
Because the exemption.
I don't think there is a standard definition, which is, yeah.
Okay, I would like to answer this. So there is no. Yeah, let me try to answer him. See, there is no standard parameter under which the government defines a middle class. For example, BPL, there is a definition. There is a numeric to it. For middle class, there is no definition. Ye andaz ka mamla hai. But to answer him, there is a correlation between the number of taxpayers in this country, which is less than 1%. As in, people who file income tax may be 6 crore plus, but people who pay tax, actual tax, which means people who declare the income above 5 lakhs, is only 1.4. So the middle class typically in India, according to me, being in the financial line and handling people's money, I understand are people who earn anywhere between 3 to 8 lakhs. And that would be the maximum. According to me, more than 70-75% of people will fall in that bracket. Above 7-8 lakhs, it'll dwindle down to 10, 15, 20%. And the super rich is obviously less than 5%.
So the middle class has benefited from this new regime.
Absolutely, because India is a poor nation till date. If you look at the per capita income, we are still a poor nation, and that's why we are called a developing nation, and that's why 3 to 7 lakhs becomes a large number. For example, 2 lakh on women's Mahila savings scheme has been given. You would not believe that most of the women will not even qualify for 2 lakhs. It's a large number in the Indian context, because we unfortunately from urban India start thinking that middle class is not 7 lakhs, 15, 20 lakhs is middle class. For Indian standard, 10, 15 lakhs is rich.
Is 7% a good, good interest rate? Given that banks are also giving that much only.
No, there are savings bank account like private institutions who
and
give you 7%.
It's going to increase after this budget. I heard that's at least what my banker was telling me.
Yeah, see, it may increase by 0.1 or 0.2. But what is important to understand that 7% is a good interest if you are not able to take a risk. Because the inflation in itself can be anywhere hovering between 5.5% to 7.5%.
Would you recommend women who are watching this broadcast that if they have the money, they should invest it?
Yeah, it depends, because this is a very generic question. I can't answer because it again depends. If you are the person, I would say no. But if it is a poor individual lady, I would say yes, because safety is predominant for them. It's the risk-taking appetite of the individual. For safety, for the general, rural or urban woman who is not able to take risk, 7% is a good interest.
Okay, Pawan Kumar is calling us from Noida. Please go ahead, Pawan.
Ma'am, good evening. I just wanted to know that there seems to be a bit of confusion in me. They say there is no income tax till 7 lakhs. Then at the same time, they say there is 10% up till 7 lakhs. First thing. Second thing, they say that there is some a standard deduction of 50,000 for the salaried class. Wasn't that there already? Could you please explain this?
Okay, Salil, I think you can explain this.
Yeah. So what this means is that as we've already discussed this earlier as well, that if your income is up to 7 lakhs, then what the government does is gives you a rebate. So they calculate the tax. So 0 to 3 is nil, 3 to 6 lakhs is 5%. 6 to 7. So if assuming that your income is 7 lakhs, so 6 to 7 is 10%. So that tax comes to around 25,000. So if your income is up to 7 lakhs, the government then gives you a rebate and of 25,000 brings your taxes to 0. So this is what it means, that up to 7 lakhs there is no tax, in the sense that that rebate is given by the government of that tax of that slab.
Okay, I think we are going to get this question over and over again, and I think it's perfectly fine to answer it over and over again, because that's the entire point of this call-in show. If there's a confusion about the new tax slabs or whether you should be migrating to the new tax regime, please feel free to repeat those questions. We have absolutely no problem. Vasant, you're calling us from Mumbai. Please go ahead.
I would like to know what are the new tax slabs and surcharges for senior citizens and super senior citizens.
Super senior citizens will be what, 90 and above?
I presume, I'm not very sure about that. I presume it will be 90 and above.
Okay, would you want to answer that question? Okay, Salil, you go ahead, please.
So the super senior citizens are 80 and above. The same slabs apply. In the old tax regime, the super senior citizens limit is 5 lakhs. But in the new regime, the limit is 7 lakhs. So it hardly makes a difference. It's better that he also moves to the new tax regime. So there is no special benefit for any citizen, be it a senior citizen or a super senior citizen. Senior citizen above 60 years and super seniors above 80 years. So there's no special benefit for these people in the new tax regime.
Okay. S. Shankar is calling us from Ghaziabad. S. Shankar, please go ahead.
I welcome the default mode and the new tax regime. In fact, people will get diverted to the new tax regime automatically since it is default mode. I have got two questions. One question is, once there is no deduction in the new regime, I was contributing to National Defence Fund, Prime Minister's Relief Fund. So will it not affect those funds, Prime Minister's Relief Fund, National Defence Fund? This is number one question. Number two question is, there is a confusion regarding the insurance. Above 5 lakh, there will be some tax. What is it about? If the gentleman can explain, I will be grateful.
Who wants to go with this one? Okay.
Yeah, see, for your contribution to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, they're all exempt under 80G. So you get that exemption. So there is nothing to worry about that. With regards to the second part of the question, which is insurance, please understand the insurance which has been, the rule has been passed. It's for any policy where the maturity value is more than 5 lakhs will start getting taxed. Now, I have not read the complete finer details. It's for the ULIP and probably the par and the non-par policies. But it is for policies taken from now. It is not in retrospective effect. So if somebody has taken a policy in 2012, 13, 14, that is not applicable.
Okay. Vijay is calling us from Pune. Vijay, please go ahead. And then we have Vijay calling us from Delhi as well. So we are on the Vijay path with this show. Vijay, please go ahead from Pune.
Oh, yeah. Good evening. I have one question. Assuming my total income is less than 7 lakhs, so there is no tax on that. But on top of that stuff, I got, say, 2 lakhs as capital gain, long-term capital gain. Is that separate?
Salil?
Oh, you didn't hear the whole question, or?
Yeah.
Salil, did you hear the whole question? Okay, please answer it then.
So the tax is on the total income. The total income here is your other income is like around 6 lakhs. Plus you have a long-term capital gains of 2 lakhs. So your total income is 8 lakhs. So there will be a tax on that. The slab of 7 lakhs is on the, it means this is on the total income. So as soon as it crosses 7 lakhs, including all your incomes, be it income under the head salary, income under the head house property, income under the head capital gains, income under the head other sources, or it's combined, its limit is 7 lakhs. As soon as it crosses 7 lakhs, you have to pay tax.
Okay, Wing Commander Sarkar is calling us from Calcutta. Wing Commander Sarkar, please go ahead. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you all. I have one question that is mainly on the defense budget. I find that defense budget is not adequate to threat perspective which we have. I don't think we will be able to sustain if we have such budget. I think there has to be some increase on this because modernization has to take place. These are very expensive items are available in the world market. War has changed completely. So if we do not look after the interest of the defense budget, don't you think that we will be in big trouble?
Would you want to answer that, Kishore? Because for the longest time, there have been many people who have been saying just fix it at 3% of the GDP. So har baar jo, there is heartbreak in the defense ministries who say, look, we are not priority at all, despite the fact that we have two very troublesome neighbors. There is a conflict with China. We are in a no war, no peace situation with China. You need to upgrade, you need to modernize, and yet there is never enough money to do it.
Okay, so I'll have to give you a detailed answer and a long answer, but let me give you some answers. See, defense budget any amount is not adequate. Now, if you up it, even double it, it's not going to be adequate, because now the world in terms of defense and protection has drastically changed. We have moved from a weapon war system to a bio war system. Today, if you look at what happened in the latest tweet 2 days back with Pfizer, you could even say COVID to be a bio war.
You know, that argument doesn't work. I'll tell you why that argument doesn't work, Kishore. Because remember what everyone was saying, oh, technology has changed the game and all of that. Look at the war in Russia with conventional weapons and tanks and missiles.
Yeah, I agree. But
you can't say that AI, drones are going to run the war.
Then tell me, in the last 20 years, when was the last Ukraine-Russia type war which has happened? So you need to understand the frequency is also reduced. Yes, I do accept the gentleman's one singular point that you need to have modernized weapons, and they are extremely expensive. Coming to the neighbors part which he told, let us understand, out of 3 major neighbors, 2 are almost on the verge of bankruptcy. So we have protection by natural forms where the neighbors have become bankrupt thanks to their governance and policies and military rules and stuff.
China
like that.
ki to baat nahi kar rahe na. China is not bankrupt at all.
China is a rogue state. So let me not even get into that. A rogue state, we need to have enough defense, and we have given them enough. But what is important to understand is that the budget for defense cannot be increased drastically, because you understand, even till date, the allocation towards different budgets is the highest. You need to look at education, you need to look at personal income taxes, you need to look at agri, you need to look at rural, you also need to look at the overall economics, where more than 40, less than 40, or almost 40% are below the poverty line. We cannot simply focus on defense alone. While I agree, defense is extremely critical, it can only go by stages.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Before I make the point that I want to make, and I disagree with you here, let me just tell our viewers, just to give a little context on what the numbers are as far as the defense budget is concerned. So this year, the defense budget is some 5.93 lakh crore rupees.
Correct.
Well done. So that's a hike of what? 12.9%, almost 13% from last year.
But you look at it as a percentage of the total outlay.
And capital outlay has been hiked by 10,000 crores to 1.62 lakh crores,
correct,
right?
Correct.
Achha, now you tell me, out of the 100 rupees that the government spends, you're telling me, right, that there have to be different priorities. But out of the 100 rupees, the government is spending 10 on defense? Yeah, approximately.
About 12, 13.
Okay. How much is it spending on health? 2 rupees. How much is it spending on education? 2 rupees. How much is it spending on subsidies? 12 rupees or 13 rupees.
Okay, it's very easy to question the government like this. But please understand, while you may disagree with me, you need to understand that the government has to balance. Now, let's say you hike the defense to 20% and then you don't give priority to education, infrastructure, startup.
Where is the priority to education even now is the point I'm trying to make. Or health even now.
No, there are so many sectors to handle. It is not alone education. You take every single sector. You look at startups. You look at centers of excellence, you look at healthcare, you look at agri, you look at, see, for example, during COVID, because thanks to the foreign exchange reserve and our magnanimity, we could offer vaccines to the entire population, which is 3 times or 4 times America. So you need to understand that there has to be reserve also. Everything cannot be spent on weapons, assuming a Pakistan or China is going to attack.
Okay, you know, I have a feeling we have hijacked this, Colin. This is about taxes. This is not about the defense budget. But since we got a call, we thought we'll discuss it.
From Kolkata, so always expected.
Yeah. Khusro is, we have 3 callers actually from across the country, so which is great to see. Khusro, you're calling us from Ahmedabad. Please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. It is excellent that you have come up with this topic immediately after the budget. It's extremely good for the citizens. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, and your question is? Loud and clear. What is your question here, Khusro?
This is with reference to the new regime, wherein 25,000 per se calculation, you don't have to pay a tax. But what is this rebate about? We have to pay the tax and then the rebate is going to come. What is it like?
Salil?
Hello?
Yeah, Salil is answering your question, Khusro. Just be on the line. Salil, would you answer Khusro, please?
Yeah. So what happens is when you calculate your income while filing a tax return, suppose you calculate your income as 6,75,000. So it will show a tax maybe of around 22,000, 23,000 rupees. Then there will be a rebate under Section 87A, which will be given at below that tax payable, and the tax will be payable will be shown as 0. So you don't have to pay and then you get a refund. You'll automatically get a rebate, and your tax payable will become 0 if you have an income up to 7 lakhs.
Okay. I have time to just take 2 more callers. So that's exactly what we are going to do, because there's a story that is coming to us from Kashmir as well. There's been a bit of a tragedy there. There's been an avalanche, just by the way, where 2 tourists have been killed. So we want to go to that story. But Prabhakar, you're on the line with us from Hyderabad. Please go ahead.
I'm Prabhakar from Hyderabad. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Hello?
Mr.
Hello?
Prabhakar, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's Prabhakar from Hyderabad. I wanted to know, I used to pay tax per year around 60 to 65,000 after all deductions. Now my annual income is about around 9 lakhs. So how much tax I have to pay this time? Can you give any explanation
Salil?
for this year as per this?
Yes, we'll ask Salil.
Yeah. For a 9
We'll
lakh
ask Salil.
annual
Salil, go
income,
ahead.
for a 9 lakh annual income, in the new tax regime, you will have to pay a tax of rupees 15,000 plus that's 45,000. So in the new tax regime, you'll have to pay a tax of 45,000.
Exactly.
So that is a benefit for you.
In fact, 9 lakh rupees. Yeah, 9 lakh rupees is something that Nirmala Sitaraman herself mentioned, and she said if you have an income of 9 lakh rupees, 45,000 rupees is the tax that you're going to pay.
That's about 10 to 12,000 rupees of saving from the older system.
Shiv Kumar, I'm afraid that's the last caller we can take. Shiv Kumar is calling us from Bangalore. Shiv Kumar ji, please go ahead. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, my question is how this new tax law will help us for a salaried person who is having an income more than 25 lakhs.
Shiv Kumar ji, please repeat your question. Your audio wasn't very clear. Could you repeat that question, please?
I would like to know how this tax law will help us for a salaried person whose income is more than 25 lakhs.
Okay. Salil, please go ahead.
Yeah, so how will it benefit is if we take the new regime and the old regime and compare it, up to 15 lakhs, there is a tax difference of 1,12,500 up to an income of 15 lakhs. Above that, both the tax regimes are same because both tax regimes tax at 30%. So up to 15 lakhs, there is a tax difference of 1,12,500, subject to there are no deductions. The more deductions you claim and go into the old regime, obviously the difference will come down. But still, if the deductions are less than 3,75,000, the new tax regime, as I've said earlier, is better. So in the 25 lakhs, if your income is at 25 lakhs and your deductions are less than 3,75,000, you should move to the new regime and you will surely save tax.
Last caller, Mr. KS Subbarao, since he was already patched from Bangalore again. KS Subbarao, please go ahead. Good evening.
Yeah, madam, good evening. My question is, the tax slabs, whatever is given, it is applicable for the new regime tax system. So what is the benefit for those who are following for old system? Whether we have to shift or any benefit is available, sir?
Salil, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm glad this question got asked. Please go ahead.
Yeah, for the old regime, honestly, there is nothing in this budget. The finance minister wants, I believe, that all the people move to a simplified tax structure. So they want that people move to the new regime. So they've given benefit in the new regime only.
Okay, so here's the question then. We understand that the government is not coercing us into getting into the new tax regime. We understand that, but they are making the new tax regime very, very attractive, right?
Correct.
Yes.
But should you be shifting to the new, despite, you know, all the nice, creamy, lovely, you know, whatever encouragements that we have got today for the new tax regime, who is it that should shift to the new tax regime? And who is it, I mean, for who does it benefit to stay back in the old regime itself?
No, see, this is a very complicated question for a simple reason, because I do not know who has what exemption. As he was saying, if your exemption is 3.75 or lesser, it's a different benefit if it's more than 3.75 if you do not have exemption. So you need to understand each person has to consult the auditor, first point. And eventually what will happen is, if last time there was no takers for the new regime at all.
Correct.
People were sticking on to the old regime. But this time you will have a partial shift happening. Because of the 7 lakh limit, you will have a shift happening. And since, as I told you, linking to the earlier question, where a large chunk of Indian population falls in that bracket, I think a large population will shift into
30
the new.
lakh and above shift करने का मतलब बनता है?
Yes, 100% yes.
100%
yes. Yes.
Salil, do you agree with that? That 30 lakhs and more, if that's your annual income, even then it makes sense for you to migrate from the old tax regime
Because
to the new tax
surcharge
regime?
has also gone down, your taxation is also
Yes,
gone down.
Salil, do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. But I have to make a few points here. That the government is kind of motivating you to move to a simplified and the new tax regime. But they should have understood why there was an old regime, why there were deductions. The deductions were that so that people go and take their medical insurance, so that if they get hospitalized, they do not get, you know, charged with hefty bills. How will they arrange money at that moment? They were forced to save long-term savings for their old age. Then there were incentives to do philanthropy through donations under Section 80G. So all these points should have been taken into account, rather than just thinking that, you know, we have to shift to a simplified tax regime by removing the deductions. Because what I feel is, you know, if an insurance agent comes and sells you the policy, he says that this is the benefit. The second benefit is, you know, that you are paying your insurances, your LICs, etc., to cover for certain expenses that may come later. And at that moment, maybe if a person forgets to take these insurances because of the new tax regime, he may end up going bankrupt with the other hospital, etc. bills. So that is my take on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one last closing comments.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Salil on this point that those instruments were very valuable for personal finance management.
It was, yeah.
One thing which probably I expected in this budget was they would give a tax benefit for term insurance. This is a long-standing demand from the insurance industry, because that is very, very critical. Because when the rural India, urban India, even urban India, upper middle class, when people lose their life, their families mostly are not having a policy, and India is a terrifically underinsured country. We should give that benefit for a term insurance, which will increase the protection system and thereby save a lot of hardship on families and save the economy.
Okay, thank you so much. Kishore Subramanian, thank you very much for coming to the studios and joining us this evening and answering those questions. Salil Bhatia, you're of great help. Thank you very much. I hope, you know, this show has been useful and beneficial for our viewers as well. Salil, Kishore, thank you very much to our viewers. Thank you very much for calling. Unfortunately, we can't take any more calls. So I'll just slip into a quick break. There's news from Kashmir that is coming up, as I said, and I'm afraid that's not good news.